Now Tom Fleming stars in a major two-part drama portraying the life of Lord Reith, the founder of the BBC.
I used to dream so often that I was back at the BBC. It was all so vivid. But when I returned there, in reality, I regretted that I'd yielded to their blandishments. I wished profoundly I had never gone back. Distinguished visitor. I have appended various titles to my signature. Major, Captain RNVR, Minister of the Crown, Knight of the Thistle, Peer of the Realm, Director General. But none has given me such satisfaction as when I first signed over a rubber stamp in Flanders in 1914, Transport Officer, Scottish Rifles. Transport Officer. My first real job, my first real title. I was a somebody, an object of mystification, envy, and respect. It was expedient to be on friendly terms with me. I could perform or withhold services. I was a power in the land. Magnificent. Like the gold star. John. Charles. Walsham. 9 o'clock, Saturday morning, December the 30th, 1922. Offices of the General Electric Company, Kingsway.
Business?
British Broadcasting Company?
Second floor, sir. Are you the new company, sir?
You might say so. I'm its general manager. My name's Reith. What's yours?
Kilroy, sir.
He opened the door ceremoniously. I entered. The door was shut. Footsteps echoing in the corridor. A wild thought to call him back and bid him loose me. Too late. A survey of the premises revealed a chamber some 30 feet by 15, furnished only with tables and chairs. Hat, coat, an umbrella on the window ledge. The day's forthcoming program, perhaps? No. Details of a bygone race meeting. A telephone suggested communication with the outer world. Hello? No, Mr. Burroughs isn't here yet. I'm the general manager, John Reith. Who are you? Doreen Barlow? Well, Miss Barlow, if anyone rings up and asks for the BBC, will you put them through to me? And meanwhile, get me Westminster 5105. No, ring me back. A door at the far end invited examination. It gave onto a sort of broom cupboard, 6 foot square.
Hello. You must be...
John Reith. Mr. Burroughs, I presume?
Welcome to British Broadcasting. What there is of it, such as it is.
So you're in charge of programs? How many of us are there?
3, 4. Now we've got a general manager. Soon warms up. They're over at the studio.
Reith speaking. Oh, music. It's just to let you know that I've arrived safely. You can expect me home when you see me. Oh, and my number is Holborn 7722. Would you mind showing me around, Mr. Burroughs? I'm afraid I'm a total ignoramus where broadcasting's concerned, apart from a wartime knowledge of the Morse code.
Well, as far as our offices are concerned, turn round twice and you've seen them all, sir. Yes. If we move some of these things, we can fit you in next to Lewis, my program assistant.
No, don't bother. I can fit in here.
In the cupboard?
Aye. As long as the window opens and I can stand upright. Do till we get new premises. Are there any books?
You mean accounts?
No, about broadcasting.
Not to my knowledge.
How did you learn?
Trial and error?
Oh, well, in order to avoid making any errors, I shall have to draw heavily on your experience. Do you mind?
No, not at all.
I shall soon catch up, I promise you.
I'm meeting the others at the studio. Are you coming?
Tomorrow. I must deal with the administrative side first. My late father, moderator of the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland. He always occupies the place of honour. When is the programme? I haven't even a wireless.
5 p.m. till 9, more or less.
Well, I'll tune in at 7. That'll be the news, won't it?
Right, sir?
You see, I'm learning. And not, sir, except on very formal occasions. I may be general manager, but I'm still Reith, John Reith, is that understood?
There's something coming through.
Turn the right-hand knob clockwise. The right-hand knob, you see, the oscillator. That's better. Now the other one clockwise. Clockwise, Muty. That's it. Now, don't touch the thing. I think we're still getting interference from the clock.
The clock? It's not coming from the clock.
I'll stop it anyway.
All a mystery to me.
And to me. Now it's coming through. Listen.
British Broadcasting Company calling. 2LO calling. The time is now 7 o'clock.
Isn't it exciting?
This is the most powerful weapon in the world. And it's in my hands.
The Prime Minister has agreed to meet the leader of the opposition, Mr. Ramsay MacDonald, with a view to discussing the crisis now developing in India. He also stated that his government remains firmly opposed to great preoccupation of the war, adding that he regards such action as a total free-florism, referring to it as a rupture for the eye.
Reith speaking. Yes, of course I could hear it. Frightful, terrible. Well, get on to the Riddle station. It's got to be stopped. What? You can't? It can and will be stopped. By me.
There will now be a short interval to be followed by the first general bulletin of news at 7 o'clock. You've been listening to the London station at the BBC 2LO.
You see, in my opinion, this so-called studio is hopelessly ill-equipped. But don't be disheartened. That can soon be put right, and as we say in Glasgow, that's a fact. And the man I hope will do it for us is none other than Captain Peter Eckersley of Riddle, Mr. Burroughs, Programme Director.
Hello, CQ. Hello. Can I have a look round?
Well, certainly. Even if you don't accept the job, we'll value your opinion.
I bet you've got a better microphone at Riddle.
No, the same. But we have a better transmitter. And one I designed myself.
That's one of our biggest problems. The equipment we require hasn't even been made yet. We must design it ourselves. We have to put up 8 transmitters immediately. It's a condition of the license given to us by the government. Totally new. Cardiff, Glasgow, And I'm not talking about a factory chimney with an aerial stuck on top. That's what they've got in Birmingham. It will be a tremendous undertaking. You'll have to find an office, recruit your own technical staff.
Aren't they any good?
Oh, they're excellent, but they're not ours. They're Marconi's. From now on, everything and everyone must belong to the BBC. Are you willing to join us on that basis? Or do you want more time to think it over?
Will you excuse me? I really must get on.
Well, you get on. Carry on, Bert.
Do join us. He won't beat us, I know that much.
I forgot to ask you, Captain Eckersley, are you a Christian?
The C of E, sir. That covers most things.
Married?
Yes. Are you?
Oh, very much so. Well, would you like to come and have a drink and talk it over? I don't drink myself, so there's none in the office, but I dare say we can find a pub.
No, no, thanks. I've only one question. What would I be called? Director of Engineering?
Chief Engineer? How would that do you? Our first and only, and therefore our chief, QED. Mind you, I am myself a fully qualified engineer.
You see, if I take this on, I want to be in charge. Sole charge.
I expect everyone who works here to do his job in his own way, to the best of his ability. I shall back you to the hilt, Captain Eckersley, but if you put a foot wrong, you will have to account to me, chief engineer or no chief engineer.
QED.
When Admiral Charles Carpendale was appointed my deputy manager, I invited him to my house for our first meeting en famille. And from his point of view, it must have been a most embarrassing occasion. Tact was never my sister Jean's strong point, nor mine.
What's wrong with it?
He's tuning it.
Like a piano.
You have to find the wavelength.
The wavelength? What's that mean?
Wheesht, Jean, wheesht!
This is London calling. Here is the news bulletin at 7 o'clock.
There. What do you think of that, Muriel?
Think of what?
We've changed the call signal. From now on, it's just London calling. What do you think of that?
Oh, much better.
I mean, say if you prefer this is 2LO calling in all stations.
No. London calling sounds much better, doesn't it, Jean?
Oh, don't ask me. I haven't got a wireless set. I can't afford one.
Is that a hint or an accusation, Jean?
Both. You're supposed to be manager of the BBC.
Supposed to be, I am.
And yet your own sister hasn't even got a wireless set.
You think I should give one to all my relatives?
Oh, why not? He gave one to the Archbishop of Canterbury.
He is no relation, Jean.
Mrs. Reith, I really must get underway. What with leaving the Navy and joining the BBC, all within a month, my own family are beginning to wonder where I've got to. Thank you very much for a delightful evening. Ladies, goodbye.
Would you care to see over our new premises at Savoy Hill?
I certainly would, yes.
I was good as told them that we're moving in, though I haven't yet informed the board.
Well, I'll have a word with the chairman, Gainford. I'll ask him privately. And then you can inform him in public.
Splendid. Well, I'll meet you at the entrance, just off the Strand, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock?
7:30, if you'd prefer.
No. 8 o'clock's quite early enough for me. I'm supposed to be retired, you know.
I've never seen anyone less retired in my life.
Do you think we'll get on?
Well, if we don't, sir, it'll be my fault. Thank you for coming. Good night.
Good night.
You can pack your bags and go.
Where? I haven't any home, haven't any money.
You have a perfectly good husband. Go back to him.
He's a perfectly horrible husband.
John, please, for my sake.
All right, Mother. For your sake. Easy enough to break your marriage vows when you can live with your mother while I foot the bill.
Has it never occurred to you that Mother's an old lady who would rather live with her daughter than live alone?
75, I don't call that old.
Shall I read to you, Mother?
I'll do that. Don't pretend that you look after her. She looks after herself.
Don't quarrel. Jean's company for me, John.
The sort of company you can very well do without.
I'm her daughter.
Bulldog drubbing. She doesn't want that.
You're only jealous.
She likes biography. Jealous.
Well, if you know a better word for it.
I am no more jealous of you than I am if the cat sits all day long in front of the fire and then demands the top of the milk. If you want to know what I am as regards you, it's ashamed.
Never mind, Jean.
I'm sorry. But why did he invite me down here when all he wants to do is quarrel?
I didn't invite you. I invited my mother.
You sent me a rail ticket.
Yes, return first class. Why don't you use it, woman?
John, how can you? What do you want?
John, you've spoiled the evening.
She spoiled it, and don't go after her. And so she wants to upset everyone. I'm sorry, Mother.
You don't need to say sorry to me.
Well, I'm not saying it to Jean. Shall we say the Lord's Prayer? Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Now that you are at the front, your mother and I can only pray God be with you every moment. Our country's glory and good name are committed to your care. Keep close to Christ, dear boy. Make sure your heart is his, that whatever happens, you are fighting under him as captain. No ill can then befall.
I must congratulate you, Mr. Reith. You brought us a long way in a very short time. But Savoy Hill is rather large. Do you not think we should share these premises?
Certainly not. There must be room for expansion. Apart from anything else, I've got to have room to stretch my legs.
Yes, but joking apart, by expansion, do you mean an increase in the actual time broadcast or what?
You answer that, Burrows.
But I asked you, Mr. Reith.
Mr. Burrows is in charge of programs, sir, not me.
We'll have more time and therefore more programs. Music, drama, talks, religion.
Religion?
We're introducing a Sunday morning service.
With the blessing of the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Yes, all the same.
He presented him with his first wireless set. He was most impressed, but he complains of the draft. He thought that in order to get good reception, he had to keep his window open.
Religious services will hardly increase our business. You see, we must not forget that we're a private company. And as chairman, the prime reason we are here today is to sell wirelesses. More and more wireless sets.
Don't worry, Lord Gainford. The business side of this enterprise is very much to the fore in my mind, I promise you. And the proof of the pudding is that your sales have more than doubled within the last 6 months.
Yes. Oh, well, I didn't mean to, we're all very grateful, I'm sure.
You've no need to be. I know I speak for all of us when I say that it is a great joy and a privilege to work with such a pleasant and helpful board of directors.
Here. Thank you. Good. Well, let's get over to the Savoy. I think we've all had an ample sufficiency of pancakes and bloaters.
There is just one other thing, while we're on the subject, so to speak. I take it the board is totally committed to broadcasting?
Totally committed? In what sense?
I myself am totally committed to broadcasting as such. To that end, I will exert myself to the utmost. The same goes for the rest of us. We don't care how long we work, or how, or when. What about the board?
We'll back you, of course.
But this dedication could mean a divergence of interest on a matter of principle.
But I thought you said... I take it we are talking about financial commitment, Mr. Reith?
No, sir. Principle.
Well, that's rather vague.
No, sir. To me, a principle is most specific.
Well, in my opinion, Mr. Reith, your principles are your own concern. As long as you give us a full report every month so we can see how you're getting on, we're satisfied. Does that answer your question?
I didn't ask a question. I made a statement.
You're a difficult man to argue with. Well, let's say we trust you to do your best, and that's good enough for us. Is that good enough for you?
I couldn't ask for more. To begin with, I found the board friendly and ready to help, and I was keen and anxious to learn. As a young territorial, I was proud to be accepted by the regulars at HQ. The life suited me very well. There's always a snag, of course. In this case, a bullet or a shell, or even a bayonet. Preferably not a bayonet.
What's going on, Winnie? He's taking dancing lessons. Every Thursday till Christmas, he said.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, cut, cut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, music. We have to do a meal at the staff party on New Year's Eve. Take your shoes off. This is Miss Wilmer. Winnie, you too. Come on, we have to make a foursome. Now, you stand here, Musie. You there, Miss Wilmer. Winnie, you better be the other man. Right.
What are we doing?
Foursome reel. You ready?
Right. The left. Right. Left.
Right. Left. Do it right, Musie, or don't do it at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cut, cut. 1, 2, 3. Now the old year is coming to a close. For some of us, 1925 may have been a year of unhappiness, and we're glad to see the back of it. For others, it may have seemed the high tide of achievement and endeavor and reward. Sadness or joy. None of us knows what's in store for us next. But we live in hope, and so we can all welcome the new year to the sound of the bells. In the words of the poet Tennyson, ring out the old, ring in the new. Ring happy bells across the snow. The year is going, let him go. Ring out the false, ring in the true. Ring out false pride in place and blood, the civic slander and the spite. Ring in the love of truth and right. Ring in the common love of good. Ring out all shapes of foul dis-ease. Ring out the narrowing lust of gold. Ring out the 1,000 wars of old. Ring in the 1,000 years of peace. Ring out the darkness of the land. Ring in the Christ that is to be. The general strike of 1926 took most of the nation by surprise. But not the British Broadcasting Company, and not the Reith household in Westminster.
Hello, Mrs. Reith. Jane said we should stay put in Dumfries, but as we've got our tickets and
Oh,
everything...
you're much better off with us. Yours could be the last train for months. Winnie, take the suitcases upstairs, will you? Hello, Jean.
I think we got the last taxi from King's Cross. Evans, go trip over this wire. Put it under the carpet.
Hello, nearly finished. Hello, Mrs. Reid.
How are you, Captain Eckersley?
Fine. Sorry I can't shake hands.
How's your wife?
Oh, Stella's fine. She hasn't seen me for a fortnight.
Come on, Mother. Up to the study. We're making it into a studio.
Are you going to broadcast in here?
I may do, but it's chiefly for the benefit of the Prime Minister.
Mr. Broadbent, is he going to...
Oh, this is first class. Are you through to Savoy Hill yet?
I'm just going to do it now.
Would you like some tea?
Oh, no, thank you, Mother. I want to stay and watch. Come sit down.
Testing. Hello, children. All 20 B valves standing on a shelf. Burrows couldn't find one, so I had to go myself. When the program started, the phones began to sing. Don't you think that I was right to smash the bloody thing?
Fortunately, my mother is deaf, Peter. Otherwise... Reith speaking. Yes. Prime Minister wants a word.
Is he the Prime Minister? The Prime Minister?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir? No, there's no fear of that. Well, the strikers may try to prevent the staff entering the building. They'll just have to sleep there, that's all. I shall remain here and make any special announcements from home. Well, you've only got to walk around the corner, sir. No, I shall broadcast the news myself. Might I suggest a message to the nation? Something personal from you, sir? Yes, I'll do that. At 6 o'clock. Well, it's a general strike. No coal and steel. No trains, no buses, no tubes. And no newspapers. Only the BBC.
John, you enjoy nothing better than a crisis.
I don't enjoy a crisis as such. I admit I enjoy the opportunity which a crisis provides. In this case, to speak to the nation. And for the nation.
The general strike has begun. The government has declared a state of emergency. Workers in the coal mining industry are on strike, and the TUC has ordered other vital industries and services to join the strike from Tuesday. The Prime Minister has asked us to broadcast a personal message to the nation.
Keep steady. Remember that peace on earth comes to men of goodwill. What did you think of that, Mother? Peace on earth comes to men of goodwill. I wrote that. I wrote those words.
I don't propose to make a political broadcast as Chancellor. I intend to warn the working man of the inevitable misery, which will be the lot of all those who participate in this monstrous strike, and to advertise the British Gazette, which I shall personally publish tomorrow. What is your objection to that?
Nothing, except that most people trust the BBC to speak the truth.
I don't propose to lie.
Nevertheless, the people don't want dope.
Dope?
Once they know that the BBC has been commandeered and is manipulated by you.
I don't want to manipulate you. I want to be sure that the people are left in no doubt as to the position of His Majesty's government.
The strikers have a right to know their own position as well. They all pay the same license fee.
They won't pay that while they are on strike.
Mr. Reith, are you saying that if the strike is succeeding, you're going to broadcast that information?
I must, Prime Minister. If Glasgow has no trains running, they can see that for themselves. If there is no coal in Durham or steel in Sheffield and no fish in Grimsby, that news will be broadcast. There's no use telling them it's snowing if the sun is shining through the window.
So you're on the side of the miners, is that it?
I do not take sides.
I've been told that you were badly wounded in the war.
Yes, in the head. But my present attitude is not traceable thereto.
I am aware that it is the duty of this government to keep essential services going and to preserve the life and the liberty of the subject.
Mr. Churchill, the BBC will naturally broadcast government orders and communications.
I'm very glad to hear that.
But the voice they will hear coming out of the wireless set will be the one they've grown fond of. The one they know and trust. Sincere, impartial, and totally independent.
Yours.
The BBC's.
Reith, if you listen carefully, you can hear something. Do you know what that is? That is the sound of a printing press, and it is printing the first issue of the Gazette, which will be distributed throughout the land.
I hear it, sir.
I want you to send down an engineer with a microphone, and I want the nation to hear the sound of the Gazette rolling off the presses. The voice of government cannot and will not be silent.
I've told you, Mr. Churchill, I cannot take sides by broadcasting propaganda.
There will be no human voice, only the sound of machinery speaking for itself.
And immediately thereafter, am I to broadcast the silence of the shipyards and factories?
You do what you damn well like. But you get a man down there at once. At once, do you hear?
I hear you, Mr. Churchill. And the answer is no, I will not.
Excuse me, Prime Minister. I must take my hat and my leave, as Wordsworth said. He was another tall fellow. I have been interested to meet you, Mr. Reith.
It's mutual. I don't think he likes me.
No, he enjoys a fight. The only trouble is that once he regards you as his enemy, he can never be your friend.
Prime Minister, I have accepted responsibility for broadcasting only what is best and civilizing. I want to banish ignorance and misery and enrich the human race, not deprive it and propagandize it. My sole concern is to safeguard these ideals. Broadcasting must play its rightful part in human destiny.
Oh, most certainly it will. Because I shall myself broadcast to the nation tomorrow. With your permission, of course.
Sail Away was a blood mare, the best in the regiment. And she belonged to the transport officer. Some of the other officers were jealous. I didn't care. I felt I was trusted by my CO, even admired. We still have a few minutes. Can I get you anything, sir?
No, thank you, Reith. I'll just smoke. Look, have a look at this trike, will you? See what you think of the end. Because I think the TUC will soon give in, but I fear the miners will fight on.
Well, so would I. Prepared to live on 25 shillings a week.
Are you a socialist, Reith?
No, sir. But I worked in a factory, up at 5, home at 6. 2 hours evening classes for 5 years. I can find it in my heart to sympathize.
Yes, I'd like to add a personal note.
You want to say that you're a man of peace? And, honor?
Something along those lines, yes. Well, you put it down, whatever you think. I hope you've got a legible hand.
Shall we try a voice level? Captain Eckersley, I am longing and working and praying for peace, but I will not surrender the dignity of the Constitution.
Oh, that's excellent, Reith. Thank you very much.
Okay. Can you try a voice level, sir?
Captain Eckersley, I hope you're pleased with the way the talks are going on the international wavelengths. Do you want any more? And congratulations, too, on the work that you've done.
Yes, that's fine, sir. Thank you, Chief Engineer. We've got just a minute to go. I'll announce you from here. And don't lean back.
You don't need to listen at the door, Mrs. Reith. Come down to the drawing room. We can hear it on the wireless.
I wish to be a part of this great moment in my son's life.
This is London calling on all stations. The Right Honourable Stanley Baldwin, the Prime Minister.
Good evening. The general strike has now been in progress for nearly a week. And I think it is right that as Prime Minister, I should tell the nation once more what is at stake in the lamentable struggle that is going on. The Trade Union Council has decreed that the railways shall not run, the transport shall not move, that the unloading of ships shall stop, and that no news shall reach the public.
I sat on the sofa and listened to him.
And I repeat it now.
He was a born
No
broadcaster.
door is closed.
Suddenly I had qualms about the word dignity that I'd written in his speech.
But the general strike
A stupid word to use.
Absolutely.
This was no time to stand on dignity.
Without reserve. That is the government position. To continue the struggle can only increase disaster and misery the longer it lasts.
I crossed out dignity
The solution
and wrote
is within the
safety
grasp of the
and
nation.
security
The
instead.
trade union leaders are willing to abandon the general strike. I am a man of peace. I am longing and working and praying for peace. But I will not surrender the safety and security of the British Constitution. You placed me in power 18 months ago by the largest majority accorded to any party for many, many years. Have I done anything to forfeit that confidence? Can you not trust me to ensure a square deal and secure even justice between man and man?
You have been listening to the Prime Minister speaking to you from Westminster.
Your father wouldn't be.
I knew it. I knew it. Sir John Reith, Knight of the General Strike. They want to make me into a henchman. My first instincts were right. You were here, Miss Nash, the day that Baldwin rang up. I told him I didn't want a knighthood. Wouldn't have one. I wasn't going to be a miserable civil servant. Knighted for deeds of heroism during the General Strike.
It's only Rothermere and his gang.
Only? But the papers do so much damage. They couldn't stop us becoming a corporation, and now that we are one, they're like rats gnawing at the foundations. And Baldwin, he's so sly. Churchill comes at you with an axe, but Baldwin, he wants the BBC for his own purposes, just as much as the rest of them do.
John, be fair. He's given us the charter, and in return...
In return, we are still under the thumb of the wretched Postmaster General. He collects the license fees. Every time I post a letter, I feel sick. I accepted this knighthood to strengthen my position with the new board and to please Muriel, and that's a fact.
Well, at least she's happy.
Oh, she's happy and contented, she always is. She'll make a good milch cow, that's what I tell her. She thinks she's going to have a baby, but there are no signs, and I haven't got the time. Have you seen the list?
What list?
The new board.
Oh, yes. Yes, it's very representative.
What, with Clarendon as chairman? I begged him to keep Gainford. He may have been a bit yellow at times.
He was a coal owner, John, and a Liberal. Now in a public corporation, Baldwin couldn't...
Well, at least he wasn't tied to the interstices of Whitehall by yards of red tape. And what's all this?
Don't worry, John. You'll have him eating out of your hand, like the rest of us. Ask him out to dinner.
Letters of congratulations, Sir John.
Burn them. No, don't. Put them in a box. Muriel can sort them out. Give us something to do. My brace is bust. I'm like a puppet.
Yes, I saw that. I meant to get you another pair.
Oh, they'll say they'll last the evening. If not, I'm sure the new chairman will oblige with an elastic band. Anyone interesting?
The telegram from Jean,
I expect Mother paid for that.
and there's one from Charlie Bowser. Isn't that nice? I see him remembering us.
Charlie? What's he saying?
Congratulations, Charlie. I think.
That's he?
John, what did you do that for?
I'm picking up Clarendon from my office. I booked a table at the Savoy Grill. I shan't be late.
John, darling, it's 3 years since you saw him.
4.
Poor thing. You haven't seen each other for 4 years. He's changed. You changed? He's just like an olive branch. Why can't you forgive? Why can't you ever forgive, forget?
Charlie. I will forget. I do forget. I have forgotten, all right?
I don't understand you, John. All these letters here from important people who we hardly know and who don't give tuppence for us. You read them and keep them and stick them in your scrapbook. But the one from your best friend, your only friend, you tear that up.
Muriel, this is typical of you to start an argument just when I'm trying to collect my thoughts.
It's all right for you, John. But Charlie was my friend too. And so was Maisie.
That Jezebel!
I need friends. And I haven't got them.
You've plenty of relatives. There's Doris, Phillips, the Moyers, the Naylors, old Uncle John Adams and all. Oh, come on, I've got to go.
I'm lonely.
We'll have people round. We'll make friends. New friends. I'll make more of an effort in that direction. But not Maisie. And not Charlie. Never.
Lord Clarendon is here, Sir John.
Lord Clarendon. How are you, sir?
Very glad to be here. Looking forward to a lot of hard work.
Oh, well, don't go, Miss Nash. Miss Nash will be your secretary, Lord Clarendon.
Oh. I thought I'd have to provide my own.
No, sir. Miss Nash will do for both of us. She was recommended to me by Lloyd George's secretary.
Lloyd George? Well, I'm sure we'll get on very well, Miss Nash.
Thank you, sir.
When Mrs. Snowden comes, tell her I'm here.
Yes, Lord Clarendon.
Pity about Mrs. Snowden. Oh, I expect her husband's glad to get her out of the house.
I gather she was the Postmaster General's choice.
Oh, that explains it. Trust him to send us the most cantankerous suffragette since Joan of Arc.
No, I don't agree at all. She's a socialist, of course, but I flatter myself I'm a pretty good judge of character.
You flatter yourself, is that so? Well, we've no need to worry. She won't be here that often. Membership of the board is a very part-time occupation, as I'm sure you'll agree.
That wasn't the impression I was given by the Prime Minister, quite the contrary. And Mrs. Snowden tells me she's expecting to have an office of her own and to work here the greater part of the week.
Out of the question. You'll have an office here, as chairman, of course, just across the passage. We're leaving you to furnish it in your own way. Miss Nash did all mine.
I prefer to do it myself, thank you. I'm rather fussy.
Fussy? What does that mean?
I like to make up my own mind. In my own way, in my own time.
Mrs. Snowden's here.
Ah, Mrs. Snow. How good to meet you.
Good evening, Sir John.
Oh, blast the thing.
Beg your pardon.
Miss Nash, have you got a piece of string? I'm afraid I've bust my braces. When one is 6'6", braces are a constant hazard. For Clarendon, it was a breach of etiquette, if not an act of gross indecency. While for Mrs. Snowden, the sight of my secretary, a free and educated woman, actually being forced to sew on my back button. So I blame the ensuing years of conflict upon my braces. The adjutant probably considered it a morbid craving for excitement when I asked if somebody could take me out beyond the wire. Barbed wire of various kinds. A few yards further on, low tripwires. Further still, tin cans. War cabinets, munition works, patriotic speeches, ships, railheads, hospitals, All the gigantic machinery and paraphernalia of an empire at war. All fine down in the end to a shell hole. There was nothing between me and the Germans. This was no man's land.
Any other business?
I've got a number of things I think we should discuss which are not on the agenda.
Oh. Would you like...
As it's 4 o'clock and I have another meeting, could they keep it until next week?
Oh, that's no use. We don't want to get the reputation of dragging our feet. Personally, I think we should have a meeting every day. It's one of the things I want to talk about.
If we meet every day, there'll be so much hot air generated, we'll blow the place up.
I don't agree. It'll be a safety valve.
For whom? You?
For members of the staff.
You want to give yourself something to do by promoting the welfare of members of my staff? I shall be very pleased.
Give myself something to do.
The 4th, 1927. Mrs. Ethel Snowden complained and complained and complained. And mostly her complaints were about me, our Director General, as she liked to call me.
And firstly, consultation with the full board before decisions are arrived at. I happened to bump into Peter Eckersley in the canteen, and he calmly informed me that we were going to build ourselves a new headquarters on the river and had already secured the lease.
The site is near Oxford Circus, and we've got the fee simple.
Fee simple? You mean freehold?
I mean fee simple. It was like Alice in Wonderland. I called her the Red Queen and Clarendon the White Rabbit. But I was sick at heart.
Secondly, I understand that Mr. Lambert has been appointed editor of the Listener. How did that happen?
I interviewed him and gave him the job, yes.
Without informing anyone?
I informed him.
You should have asked us first.
You had a list of the candidates, Mrs. Snowden, and if I remember rightly, he was one of the only ones you didn't object to.
Could we leave that one for the moment, Mrs. Snowden?
Thirdly, as you know, I'm on the governing board of Covent Garden Opera, so I'm very much concerned with musicians. I have heard a lot of complaints that their salaries are too low and working conditions appalling.
At Covent Garden?
No, at the BBC.
Well, we're doing our best, but at the moment we simply haven't the money.
In his last budget, Mrs. Snowden's husband gave Covent Garden £75,000. Can't you persuade him to give us a helping hand?
That's a cheap jibe, Sir John. Very cheap.
£75,000? A cheap jibe?
Well, really.
Sir John. Mrs. Snowden, if you could be brief.
If I'm not interrupted. The point I'm making is that all artists' salaries are too low and that new appointments should not be made without the consent of the board. Fourthly, we give in far too easily to the Tory press. One word from them and the programme is cancelled. The talks department doesn't know whether it's coming or going.
They're going. The head of department is, at any rate.
Miss Matheson? Leaving? Why? This is outrageous. Just because she's a woman.
Not because she's a woman. She insists on going her own way, and as her work is not what it was...
Not what it was. How can you say that?
Then I'll say no more.
Mrs. Snowden, couldn't you summarize all your points in a memorandum?
Which could be circulated for consideration before next week's meeting.
I've made out next week's agenda. Members of the board may wish to add to it. It's foreign language broadcast, allocation of broadcasting time during forthcoming election, and television. I shall produce memoranda on these subjects, which you will receive in the next day or two. Now, if you'll forgive me, I simply must go. I have another meeting.
If we're allocating time, I'd like time for the women's peace movement.
Let's put it on the agenda.
I think we should have a meeting tomorrow. I want to make an international appeal. I'm going to get letters from women all over the world and read them out.
You were not put on this board as a female tub thumper.
Mr. Chairman, There is nothing more important than world peace. I'm sure none of us minds giving up a little of our precious time to discuss the subject. That's my motion. Will somebody second me?
I had more than enough to do without having to sit and listen to a lot of the most utter balderdash.
I should like that reply put in the minutes.
All right. Do you know how to spell balderdash, Miss Nash? B-A-L.
That remark is typical of the rudeness and discourtesy that I've had from you all day.
I'm sorry. I have no wish to quarrel. But you've come to this meeting with a list of complaints a yard long, and you don't know the first thing about the BBC, and you know even less about me.
Just because I'm a woman.
Mr. Chairman, if you will excuse me, I'm already 10 minutes late for my meeting.
Really?
I shan't be home until midnight. As a woman, you will appreciate I'm not only Director General of the British Broadcasting Corporation, I'm also a married man whose wife is expecting a baby very shortly. May I now leave this meeting? Oh, you're going to be a father, eh? I imagine so. Perhaps you can put that in the agenda as well. The Red Queen was silenced, but not for long. Unfortunately, Muriel couldn't produce a baby every week. "4 a.m., Whit Monday, and the baby still not here. It's still exceedingly hot. And I've been stuck in the house. All Sunday, too. Except when I got some medicine for Musie from the all-night chemist in Piccadilly. An hour ago, I was woken up by groans. I rushed upstairs, but it turned out to be a pigeon. I must throw out some of those books. I've read them all. I must get these diaries typed out. The day will come when I won't be able to read my own writing. The room was crowded like a hospital at visiting hours. Muriel, for once, looked radiantly happy and quite beautiful. I always gave her a rose on her birthday, and usually some crystallized fruit from Fortnum's. The chloroform had made her husky. I never even bothered to look at the baby. When I did, he seemed remarkably unprepossessing. Christopher. I suddenly remembered it was Mother's birthday, too, and I hadn't sent her a card. Miss Stanley, will you come in here a moment? I'll be there. What do you want?
Have you a moment to spare, John?
Yes, come in. Miss Stanley, I want to ask you a favor. These diaries of mine, I expect you've heard of them?
No, Sir John.
I started keeping them in 1911. They've been getting out of hand, and my scrapbooks. Sit down, Peter. Would you like to take the job on?
What job, Sir John?
Typing them out. I'll help. I'll dictate.
I don't think I can.
Oh, don't say that. Have you been talking to her, Miss Nash?
No, Sir John.
Miss Nash won't type them out. She says she's afraid of having her morals corrupted.
Oh, I don't mind about that. I mean, I'm no good at typing. The last time I made an error, you sacked me.
Did I? Well, you're still here, aren't you? At any rate, I don't need a good typist. I need someone with initiative, someone who can work on their own and sort things out. All the things Miss Nash is no good at.
I shall resign in a minute.
Take your time. Think it over. And give me your answer now.
Stop bullying her, John.
Oh, it's all right. I'll do it.
Good. Mind you, this won't be in BBC time. This will be extramural and paid for by me in person.
Thank you, Sir John.
Now, Peter, what is it? Oh, by the way, your Empire broadcast from Wembley was a great success. The King wanted to know how his voice sounded. I told him fine. I told him it was nothing to do with me. It was all your work. And I sent him a plan of how you did it.
We got through everywhere except Japan.
That's because they can't do anything that hasn't been done before. A nation of copycats, the Japanese. Now, what's the trouble? And don't put Miss Stanley off. She's first rate. She needs the money to keep her old mother. Go ahead.
Stella and I are parting, John.
You mean for good?
Yes.
Who says so?
I do. We managed to patch things up for a while, but now there's no going back.
You want to get a divorce? That's definite?
Absolutely. Divorce, absolute.
The woman is a member of the staff.
Yes. I'm very happy about it. We love each other.
What about your wife?
She accepts the situation.
Do you like the view from this window? The river, Lambeth Palace. I love it, especially in the evenings. So many memories. I shall be sorry to leave it when the time comes. The new broadcasting house to me is a monster. I'm insisting on an open fire in my office, otherwise they can do what they like. But for you, Peter, it will be the culmination of your work. The most modern facilities, technical advances, your own inventions. It will be the Aladdin's cave of your dreams. The start of a great adventure. Voyage of discovery. That sort of thing can only happen once in a lifetime. You've been happy here, have you not?
Very. And I still am.
Can you think of a better, more interesting, more fulfilling job?
John, I know you have certain views on divorce.
I don't give two hoots about it. I mean that. I may be what the papers call a son of the manse. But I believe that divorce is essentially something which concerns two people. Except when it concerns the BBC and those of us who are privileged to lead. Bishops and clergy, the police force, the royal family, and the BBC. We must set an example. We cannot speak or act with authority if we transgress the laws.
I don't regard myself as leading people. I'm not responsible for educating them or policing them. I'm not an artist. I just happen to be one of the few people in the world who really understands how radio and broadcasting work.
Peter, you see that certificate hanging behind my desk?
For regular attendance at Sunday school?
Oh, that's what they say. It testifies to my father's high distinction in his natural philosophy course at Aberdeen. He valued it almost more than anything he possessed, because it was signed by the teacher for whom he had the most profound admiration, that great pioneer of wireless, Clerk Maxwell. I have my father here. Both men are always at my elbow. Christian ethic and science. Those of us who believe in either and seek to extend their cause must pay the price in full.
I don't have your high ideals, John. I only know I love the job, and I'll do it far better if I'm married to the woman I love.
How soon do you want to go?
I haven't thought.
Then I will tell you. The sooner the better. Now.
Okay, John. Now. I understand you.
Do you, Peter? One of my men was called Tudhope. Good fellow, good with horses, but a hardened sinner. The adjutant found him asleep on guard duty and sent him to a field court-martial. He was sentenced to field punishment number 1 and roped to a cartwheel. I came on him unexpectedly. I'd never seen this punishment before, and it shocked me. A week later, I found him absent myself. I had him along to my billet, and we talked. After that, there was no more crime. But the adjutant had his knife into me. He said I could not be a law unto myself.
I think it's very fair. Very fair.
The Daily Mail? You think that is a fair report?
The facts are all there.
Facts? What facts? Who said I sacked Peter Eckersley because he wanted a divorce?
I did, but I never mentioned any names.
Who else is the wireless genius of the BBC?
I never called him that.
Who else the tyrant?
I didn't call you that either.
No, of course not. It only says here, Mrs. Snowden says, anyone who crosses the path of this Mussolini of broadcasting...
Steady on.
Mussolini?
John, you know as well as I do the press will make a story out of anything.
Indeed I do. So does Mrs. Snowden. Who told you?
I have my own methods. Woman's methods, if you like.
You've been going behind my back. You admit it.
Nonsense. You said yourself you would be very pleased if I would do something about the welfare of the staff. It's in the minutes. And that's all I've been doing. I've been meeting people, talking to them as human beings, learning from them what it's really like to be an employee of the BBC. For the dossier containing every detail of their religious beliefs and political opinions and their married life. Do you know, Lord Clarendon, there is a blacklist of employees who have offended against the code.
Don't talk rubbish. There is no blacklist, but if there was, you'd be on it.
Typical.
Now, come on, John. Why shouldn't Mrs. Snowdon talk to the staff?
It is one thing to talk to the staff, but I will not countenance members of the board going around like a messing officer at dinner time, asking the other ranks if there are any complaints.
Other ranks?
Yes, that's what they're called in the army. I'm not a pacifist. I don't know the jargon. I expect you'd call them cannon fodder.
If you were not the Director General, I'd slap your face.
As far as you're concerned, I'm playing John Reith, so slap away.
Oh, come on, really.
I'm sorry if this embarrasses you all. It embarrasses me more than I can say to know that members of my own board are in the habit of getting together in private.
Really, it's quite unbearable. You can't even have tea without being spied on.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
How did you know we were here?
I rang up and asked to speak to you. Your butler told me. Ask him. Do you think I've got a private detective following you about?
In a word, yes. Yes, I do.
And another in the BBC reading your letters?
I'm not saying that.
And why do you insist on having them sent on unopened?
I prefer to read them at leisure at home.
You are the chairman of the Board of Governors of the British Broadcasting Corporation. And I'm your chief executive, yet what exists between us adds up to nothing more than mistrust and secrecy. And in Mrs. Snowdon's case, downright treachery.
Why not say treason? I am guilty of high treason. I must be hauled in front of the Star Chamber and have my head chopped off.
You are guilty of using your privileged position as a member of this board and as the wife of the Chancellor of the Exchequer to defame me publicly through the newspapers.
I am trying to introduce a little democracy into...
You are trying to undermine the whole basis upon which the BBC has been founded and has grown and has flourished.
Tyranny!
Loyalty. Each one of us loyal to the other. Every member of the BBC has direct access to me, from the lift boy to the chairman. If they're not happy with their lot, if they think that they're badly done by or they have a personal problem, they know perfectly well that I will do everything in my power to put it right. And if they have an idea, or a plan, or a dream, and I say yes, they know that they will have my loyal and unswerving support against all comers.
And if you say no? What then?
Home on leave. One of childhood's silly, splendid fantasies come true. Turning up at church from war and to the ring of Spa. How good to be worshipping again in one's own church, with all the dignities of architecture and order and music. Evening service, my mother beside me, my father in the pulpit, and the organist thundered out the Ride of the Valkyries. For me.